YouTube, what is up? It is officially the off season, day number 2 of the off season. Yesterday, we did some snatches and some bench press, uploaded that to Instagram. Forgot my camera for that day, but we just finished up with our final softball tournament of the season. We'll still have some throughout the winter. We're gonna have hit tracks. We're gonna have a bunch of traveling like tournaments, those type of things, but the actual season's over. We traveled to Kansas City. Wild tournament. I did not sleep very well the night before. I was hanging out with some friends. I looked at the clock and it was 3:37 a.m. I had to leave for Kansas City at 4 a.m. I had to hop in a car. So 3:37 a.m. hit. Looked at the alarm clock. I'm like, I gotta go. I left, walked out of the house, to my car, drove to my buddy's house. I hopped in that car and we booked it 6 hours straight to Kansas City. Landed in Kansas City. It was a 24-hour tournament. So we played at 3 p.m., we played at 6 p.m., 9 p.m., midnight, 2 a.m., and then 7 a.m. So it was like an all the way through the night type of thing. In 2 days, in 48 hours, I got 4 hours of sleep, 0 of them in a bed, all of them in a car. It was a wild experience, but it was an awesome tournament, awesome experience. It was a open tournament, so we were playing against the best level, best competition. It was my first like real open tournament. We played like Carnies, where it was open tournaments, and some good teams were there, but this was like conference level tournaments, really professional level guys, and the swing was cooking. I felt the most confident I've ever felt in my swing, and it was really cool to see things kind of click and kind of be put together. I hit a ball that the fences were 375, all turf fields. It was such a beautiful complex, and the balls felt like absolute rocks. I missed barrel only one time on the weekend. Everything else was just absolutely smacked. I think I went 14 for 16 on the weekend. One bad swing, one diving catch by this second baseman. Dude was an absolute dog. He was eating our lunch all day long. But the swing felt amazing. I hit a ball, and this is not a bird. They were 375 fields, and I hit it decently over that fence. It felt so amazing. It was pretty cool to kind of piece everything together against a high-level competition. It's got me really excited for this offseason and approaching the offseason. I think the offseason for a lot of athletes can be a super exciting time, and I think the biggest thing with the offseason is not losing that hype, right? Like, I think a lot of athletes have that great perspective going in. They get super excited and it lasts for like 1 to 2 weeks and then they kind of fall off. And I think having constant reminders throughout the offseason of understanding that feeling that you had towards the end of the season, whether it ended the way that you wanted or didn't end the way that you wanted, whether there was a little bit of hope, that I think that's a really powerful thing for a lot of athletes, especially younger athletes, freshman, sophomore year in college, where they start to see a glimpse of who they could be, and that gets them really excited for the next season, as it should. But you really have to attack that offseason, and I do believe the offseason can be a time to completely transform who you are as an athlete and to take that next role and next jump into who you can become on your team and what you want to do. I just think a lot of athletes lose that motivation after 1 to 2 weeks, and it's kind of like the fake mental toughness warrior where they grind for 2 weeks and then they disappear, right? So I really do believe the number one thing in this offseason is going to be consistency. Obviously, I have the consistency piece down, but I just realized like I didn't plan to talk about this, but I do think there is power in talking about the offseason with athletes, because I think it's one of the biggest pieces to an athlete's career, pieces of time for an athlete's career, especially when you're not a professional athlete, where you do have a massive growth period here, to not waste that time. And I don't think you should waste that opportunity. I do believe that is a time to kind of get after things. And I was even catching myself where I posted on Instagram, I just got back from Kansas City, and I was like, the offseason starts tomorrow. I said that 2 days ago. And I read that, I'm like, that is so gross, dude. Like, you have an able body, you have a capable mind, you are blessed with so many physical traits. The offseason starts now, right? Start today. The death of every great person and the birth of every average person is that start tomorrow mindset, is that, oh, I can just take a break mindset. And unless you absolutely need it, I think you need to start today, and I think you need to get after today, and that's what we're gonna do. So let's get after today. We got some hex bar deadlifts, we got some jumps, hit a little plyometric series to start it. We already hit our swings today with Dan and Dunk. It was an amazing session there. I'm pretty fucking excited for this offseason, pretty excited to see where the swing can go. And we're really gonna emphasize the physical sides of things this offseason, get back up to 230, become a physical weapon so we can hit 120 miles per hour on the exit velo. Let's freaking go, let's get it, boom. All right, so same thing we've been kind of doing. We're gonna continue to crush these plyometrics to keep that bounciness going. Really gonna crush sprints. That's probably gonna be a new thing that we add, not new thing, but thing that we were missing in season just because we were sprinting so much during the season with softball, that we're gonna add in during this offseason, hit 2 to 3 more days of sprinting and really emphasize that this offseason. I really do believe sprinting and plyometrics are the number one potent stimulus that you can give your body. So we're gonna crush that. We got some crescendo hops here. We got 10 hops. Every hop has to be higher up in the air. Let's get it. All right, then third set of those, we're gonna hit lunge hops here, spill back in that lunge hop position here, deep tier, plyo, here, rip these, 10 of them. Ooh. Ooh. Boom, let's get it. All right, then we got these Blaine low box, the higher-ish box broad jumps. These are super, super nice. I like the athletic piece of a little bit of precision to land on something. We talked about this early in the YouTube series where we're jumping on a lot of plates. And I think there's a lot of athleticism that comes into precision of actually landing on something rather than just jumping maximum distance. But these just feel absolute money. I love these. If you want to see an absolute freak, you gotta look up Blaine on Instagram. He does these like 7 feet apart. It's fucking wild. That dude is so explosive. Like an Olympic bobsledder, obviously, but total freak. But these are absolute spice. I love these. Let's go. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, let's go. Keep bumping this baby back. Ooh, we got one more in us. Let's get it. Ooh, we gotta stick that. Let's go. Ooh, let's go. Get to some super cat jumps. All right, then our heavy weighted jump today, vertical jump movement problem here. It's gonna be some super cat jumps with some extra weight on here. We got 5 sets of 3 of these. We had 3 sets of the broad jumps, basically till distance. Just did first 2 sets, a little bit of warm up, a little bit more variety. Last set, push for maximum distance. Here, these are gonna be a little bit more output based. 5 sets of 3, conjugate style, loaded jumps. Let's go. Ooh, let's go. Then we're just working up to a heavy single here on these hex bar deadlifts. Haven't hex bar deadlifted in a while. Pulling in these Ollie shoes feels fucking, I know I've talked about that before, but it feels so amazing. Just being able to feel and drive through those heels on any pulley variation has just been absolute money to kind of change how my pulls feel rather than being like so rounded over and squatted. Definitely wish that's something I had invested in previously. I know, so way back when I was talking about Ollie shoes feeling like goofy and feeling like I'm floated, and talking about how I was hoping the Ollie shoes would have grown on me. Honestly, I think the biggest reason the Ollie shoes have grown on me is because I've broken down the soles. Like when I got them, the soles were super squishy, and you just had to break in the shoe, basically. So if you are new to the Ollie shoes and you get a similar pair to me where they're squishy and it feels like you're floating the whole time, I literally just think it's just like breaking in a new pair of shoes. Now they feel pretty solid in the ground. I can feel my foot in the ground the whole time, and they feel so much better than they originally did when I first got them. So let's get it. So I know I've talked about this in previous videos, but just a friendly reminder that hex bar deadlifts are not going to save your back compared to regular deadlifts, especially for a lot of squattier athletes. Whenever I do these, it feels like my back gets pretty compressed, pretty beat up from these, especially when you go heavier. That doesn't mean they're a bad exercise, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do them. And honestly, I think a lot of times the things that cause you pain are the things that you should probably do more because you suck at them for a reason and there's something that's happening there. Not all the time, I shouldn't say that for like a total gen pop person, but if you're really just looking to level yourself up as a human athlete, you should attack the things that you suck at. But again, I just think we have weird paradigms around exercises and certain exercise selections, and we make certain exercises holy grails, and we make kind of fairy tales up about exercises to like demonize other exercises, demonize a regular straight bar deadlift because the hex bar is better. I just do not believe it's true. A lot of times, honestly, regular deadlifts feel a lot better, especially with these Ollie shoes, than hex bars do. And then some days it's different. Some days the deadlift causes a lot more pain and I'll switch to a hex bar deadlift, right? So it just depends on the day, but just remember, there are no fairy tale exercises. Every exercise has a benefit and a negative. All exercises are good if you load them and rip them in a proper way, right? So let's get after it here. So one thing before we rip this set that I want to kind of talk about, because I know the start of it kind of got like a little motivational, speechy, and it's something that I've kind of switched my mind about recently, and within probably the past year, where I was pretty nihilistic about motivational speeches, pretty nihilistic about like pump up talks. And I got to that point because I think a lot of times those motivational speeches, it's like small things that people hyper focus on without doing the big things, right? And that's where I really do believe those motivational speeches, those pump-up talks, those football hype videos can really do a disservice to that athlete because the athletes can get all hyped up and talk about doing the work without actually doing the work, right? But if that motivational speech inspires you to actually go to the work, inspires you to be a better person, that motivational speech is an absolute benefit. I think back to my days of training in high school. I listened to this ET speech all day, every single day before I lifted, and every single time I listened to it, I fucking ripped it, lifted. I was super motivated and ready to get after it. And while I do believe there's some fairy tales and some of the stuff that these motivational speeches talk about, where if you just work hard, everything's gonna work out, right? Like, I think there is a lie in that sense, because life, there's a lot of randomness to life, right? There's a lot of luck and there's a lot of bad luck that happens in life. And if you sit in this, like, I control everything through hard work kind of thought process, those bad and hard things can really fuck you up in life, and you really have no idea, like, what did I do, what happened there. But then you think about it, regardless of what happens in life, the answer stays the same, which is hard work, which is getting back on your feet, which is trying harder and trying again, right? I think there needs to be like a full circle coming to Jesus moment, and I've definitely had this within the past year. You accept the randomness of life, you accept the hardships of life, you accept that things are not gonna be pretty and perfect in life, while still continuing to work hard, while continuing to show up every single day, while continuing to get after something. And getting after something is not a net negative. It doesn't make you stupid, it doesn't make you a simpleton. And I think for the longest time, I was so far in that meathead cycle of things that I wanted to escape to more of this smart scientific approach, this almost philosophical approach to life of trying to like outsmart everything. But then instead of believing in the fairy tale that hard work controls everything in life, you kind of get sucked into the thought process that outsmarting everything and not believing in anything is gonna control your life and gonna set you up in a better life. And I really do believe there is a middle ground there that matters. People inspire me every single day. I watch videos that hype me up every single day. I just watched a Tom Brady video yesterday where it was just a straight up motivational speech where he's talking about fuck your tired body, fuck your tired mind, still go to work. And it got me fired up, and it got me out of being a little bitch that day, and it got me to go lift, right? So I do believe there's a lot of power in these motivational speeches if used in the right way and if not used as this fairy tale. I think there's a great balance of being able to educate people on what life actually is with what the answer to life is. And I'm reading Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And in the final chapter, he talked about one of the number one ways to lower a stress response in a super stressful situation is to have a religious outlet to where you have a reason for why that bad thing happened, right? You have a reason for why your kid was diagnosed with cancer. You have a reason for why you were in that car crash, why you were in a wheelchair, right? Topolsky, as an atheist, talks about the power of that, right? So I do believe whether it's right or wrong scientifically, if it makes your life better, if it makes you show up to workouts, if it makes you get after things, these speeches, these talks, these pump up videos, they are tools that you can use, right? And I don't think getting rid of these tools and throwing out these tools for the approach of science, for the approach of outsmarting everything, is really the correct approach. I believe science and smarts and brains and actually understanding life is a tool, and I believe motivation, desire, and drive are also a tool. And I think you should use all tools in your toolbox to live a better human life, to live the most fulfilling life you can have on this planet, right? And I think a lot of times I've caught myself in a cycle of throwing out tools I know that work for me, whether it was religion, whether it was a motivational speech, whether it's just belief in the grind or belief in showing up or belief in myself for a more correct approach, except that more correct approach led to worse results for myself, right? And I think it's kind of the same approach where all of this science and data we have around sports performance now is making athletes super analytical, super worried about very small details where they don't get the big work, they don't get the big things done, right? They're worried about their hip shift and their squat rather than just squatting, right? Again, it's not throwing out the science and power behind the hip shift and fixing the technique in your squat, but if worrying about that makes you not squat more, there's a net negative there, right? And I think we should use tools that allow us to have a net positive and finding the balance there. And for a lot of high school athletes, you need to start with the motivation, you need to start with the grind, and not pretend like you start with this science-based approach, this nihilistic approach to training, this nihilistic approach to life, where you feel like you have the answers, because we absolutely do not have the answers. And I think that is the danger of sports science. I think it's the danger of science in everything when we approach it that way, is we pretend to have the answers. It's the same thing of pretending that you have the answers in the motivational realm, in the hardworking realm. Now we just pretend we have the answers in the science realm. And while you might have a better description of the answer, if you're not getting a better result, you don't have the right answer. I don't think that's the right approach to life, right? In the same way as softball, like we focus on all these things. What's your job in softball? Get rid of all the rules. What's your job in softball? Get on base. What's your job in football? Score the ball, right? What's your job in basketball? Put the ball in the net. It doesn't matter how you do that. Use all the tools that allow you to do the thing that you need to go do, and stop focusing on all the noise, right? So let's get after it. Let's go. Woo! All right, spine felt amply stimulated from that last one. We're gonna hit some Jeffersons here. We got these Jefferson push downs. I'm gonna use a bigger band here. We got these from DJ Marikami. Really like these. Pushing through, actively engaging in this Jefferson curl position. We're gonna push down with those hands. We're gonna hold this position, floss the spine a little bit for 2 minutes. We're gonna hold this position, get those hammies flexed, then we're gonna sauna, get out of here, let's go. As it starts to open up, just keep reaching. Feels so money. Oh, nice and spicy. Oh, the back feels money. Woo! All right, pretty good jump day. Really good bench day yesterday. This hex bars definitely needs some work, but after a heavy swing day, it was decent. I knew the spine was a little compressed after a heavy swing day and snatches going in. Decently happy with that pull, but really didn't feel like I got much out of my legs, so we'll probably crush a really big leg day on Thursday. Tomorrow, we'll hit a greaser upper body day, and the peelment of this off season is gonna continue. Appreciate you guys watching. Keep chopping wood. Let's go.